And it's time for MIZ-Central on the Loot Information Station. Grant Salzman, Brendan Schaefer here with you, coming off of a busy week in Tigers sports. We had obviously the border war over the weekend. Missouri found out its bowl destination and an interesting wrinkle in Elijah Drinkwitz's contract as well. Mr. Schaefer, how are we doing this morning?
Well, we're good. We're good.
Good?
We're not really loving basking in the glow of the border war, but
No.
It is what it is. Gotta take our medicine. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how we feel about Mizzou basketball right now.
Mm-hmm. That one didn't feel as bad as I thought it was gonna feel.
Really?
No, like losing to Kansas sucks, but like it felt expected, I guess I should say. So like I wasn't like torn up about it, I guess. As much as I would have been if they lost to, let's say, Kansas in football. Like if they lose to Kansas in football next year, I will be.
Yeah,
I might have to call off work on Monday.
That won't be good. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. And
no.
The basketball one, though, I mean, I think it was just within recent weeks that we realized maybe how it might go.
Yeah,
like when they had when the sports books had a look ahead line on that game a couple weeks ago, it was like Kansas minus 2.5. It was not expected to be a blowout. And then the Notre Dame game happened, and like that's not a team that Mizzou should probably be losing to, even on the road, if they're going to be a tournament team. So okay, reset your expectations. That line moved to like 4.5, and then money kept probably pouring in, rightfully so, on Kansas, and I think it was like a 6.5 point spread before the game. But I mean, they lost by 20. So even though we kind of felt like that could be a possible outcome with the way things are going, it still sucks. And like the game was close-ish before, like a couple minutes before halftime. The way the first half ended was kind of a precursor of what was to come. But I do think because the second half, I mean, Mizzou just looked so bad that it wasn't even in our minds within the realm of possibility that they could win. And so that maybe lessened the sting of it compared to if you're kind of like in it a little bit, you're holding on to some false hope. I had no false hope. I was focusing more on Brady Cook for the Jets at that point than I was the Mizzou basketball game. And that was a blowout too, but it was a nice novelty to see Brady Cook get into a game and get to play. So I cared more about that at that point than I did the basketball game, because I was like, you cannot force me to invest emotionally in what Mizzou basketball is producing right now. And I am pretty much status quo from where I was this time last week when I said, the Notre Dame result, I don't really think that this team is a tournament team. I don't really know what they can be offensively. And the Kansas game didn't show me anything different from that. Like, Grant, their offensive strategy in the half court is just like, I don't know, pick a different guy to kind of ISO and see if he can't like ram his way into the lane, and maybe the refs will call a foul. Yeah. And maybe the ball will accidentally go through the hoop if they don't call a foul. That's the whole plan. And or kick it out for a three. There's one guy that can sometimes shoot a three. It's a bad offensive team with the current personnel that they have. I'm sure it would be better if Jaden Stone were healthy, Trent Pierce, but you don't have those guys. And the fact that you can be one or two injuries away from it looking like this is a concern with roster construction.
Yeah, and it's the same question we have about Dennis Gates. 2022, great roster construction. I mean, amazing. I would say that he got basically everything out of that team he could get. Obviously, they should have beaten Princeton, but if you would have told people before the year, hey, this is a round of 32 team, you win a tournament game, and you have a chance to make the Sweet 16, a lot of people would have taken that. The next year, obviously, the construction is terrible. They go 0-18. They don't win.
Yeah, they were 2 injuries away from being the worst team in the conference.
And that's what happened.
Had those 2 injuries happen. So, that's why it kind of feels like this year. I'm not going to say they'll be 0-18, but shoot.
Yeah, last year they good 6th seed. Should have won the tournament game, didn't. And now we're back at this year. Like, is it an every other year thing? Because I don't think we'll be looking at next year going, wow, this roster is really bad. Next year's probably the most talented team Missouri's ever had in basketball. Just as far
they've got
as
a top recruit, so that's a place to start. I don't know how talented the roster will be, though,
but
not yet.
Yes, that's true. But next year we're looking like people feel as if it should be a very talented team with the top recruiting class in the country. Which brings me to my point of this year is like, what is wrong with his roster construction? Like, what does he see? It feels like every other year that he just can't quite get it right. Like, that is what I'm just confuddled by. And maybe they will have Jaden Stone back for Illinois and they'll beat Illinois and we'll say, okay, like, this team's not as bad as we thought. They just needed some time to get together. But if they lose to Illinois, we're looking at they probably need to go 11-7 in the SEC to get in.
I think 10-8 would still do it.
You think so?
It's a good conference. But like my point on the perspective there is if you lose to Notre Dame, you lose by 20 to Kansas, and you lose to Illinois, let's say by 8.
Yeah.
You've done 0 in the non-con.
0.
You have nothing to hang your hat on. Okay. And so that's true from a resume perspective, but it's also true from a how can I expect this team to compile a resume perspective? Like we can say, well, this is what you'd have to do in the SEC. They would have a resume from the non-con that suggests they're going to go about 5-13 or 6-12. Like, they're not a good team. They've shown me nothing to prove that they are a good team that can go 10-8 or 9-9 or 8-10 and like be in the mix. I just don't think they're remotely close to being a tournament team this year. Like, they're not making the tournament, and I don't care what what record they would need. You'll quickly learn in conference play that they're not that team. So it's a fool's errand to talk about whether 10-8 or 11-7 would get it done. It's not going to matter. They're going to be so far away from the bubble that there's no conversation to be had. That's my current expectation and belief about this team, because they stink offensively. They do not have good flow. They do not have any rhythm. And they do not, in my opinion, have a coach that's going to inspire that out of them all of a sudden within the next few weeks as conference play gets underway. I do not think I've ever seen it from Dennis Gates to where, like, when you've got a team like this, you fix it midstream. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that with the personnel that he has.
And that's why part of Dennis Gates' strategy on offense is roll the ball out and go play. And it works for teams that are really talented. It might work next year when you have a lot of guys that are just dominant and just good. Hopefully, if Jason Crow Jr. is
score the basketball to do that,
and Missouri doesn't. And you look at Bill Self's team, obviously having maybe the future number 1 overall pick helps, but other than that, Kansas isn't like a super talented offensive team. Trey Green can shoot the leather off the ball, which definitely helps, but he gets schemed open a lot. He was open a ton against Missouri, and that's part of the offense. Bill Self has coached his team offensively to be better than the sums of their parts. Like he has brought them to be greater, and that's just not what Dennis Gates does, and that's so frustrating because I do think, Brendan, this team is talented. I think there's a lot of talented basketball players. I think that this team is talented enough to make an NCAA tournament. I just don't know if they're going to be coached well enough, frankly, to make an NCAA tournament. And so far, to your point, it looks like there's no shot. Like, this team just looks bad.
I mean, offensively they do, and defensively they're not a great
not much
team
better.
And they don't really rebound. Like, it's all the concerns that I had from the SEMO game playing out, and it plays out against stiffer competition, and so you're really up the creek without a paddle. I think it is what it is. I'm already resigned to it, and maybe they'll surprise me in a positive way, but I just can't get fired up about this again, because and I don't think it's like a trend of technically, yes, it's been every other year, but it's also, that can be just kind of random, anecdotal. It just happened that way. I think it more boils down to when you don't have the roster to provide enough consistency at the pieces that matter, and that's like point guard. Anthony Robinson's been terrible. He's just been awful, and I don't know that he's a good enough player. Like, I don't know that he has the goods to do it consistently when he's got to be the guy. Like, he's got to be Mark Mitchell's your number 1 scorer, your number 1 threat. Jacob Cruz, when you talk about outside shooting, he would be the next option, which is like, what are we talking about? If last year you told me, Jacob Cruz is going to be the number 2 relied upon scorer, I'm like, well, they're not going to win very many games because he's not that guy. And he'll have games. He's very similar to Caleb Grill. Like, Caleb Grill would have games where he would just look like the best. But you have hot shooting nights, and you have nights where your shot's not quite there. Like that's the nature of being that kind of player.
Yeah. At least with Caleb Grill, he had a little bit of a threat to score inside to drive. Jacob Cruz is not
one trick pony.
Only shoot. He can't drive really. He maybe he can pump fake a guy out of his shoes that's closing out hard and drive for a layup. But Caleb Grill actually had the threat when he caught the ball sometimes to drive to the lane.
He's much more well-rounded player than Cruz.
Yes.
And so like I remember at the end of the last season when it was kind of talked about that Jacob Cruz announced he was coming back, and I kind of joked and I was like, has he been told he's allowed to? But it turns out like Dennis Gates didn't get the pieces that were going to supplant him in the lineup. And so now he's a central figure to the team. That's not a winning recipe. Cruz, if he's your sixth man, then you might really be a pretty good ball club, but that's not the role he's playing. And so he's miscast, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault that like Dennis Gates this week is talking about how Javon Porter needs to be able to knock down threes when he's not really ever done that. He says the stats suggest that's part of his game. It's really not. It's not something I expect him to do in SEC play.
Yeah. From three, he's a career about 24% 3-point shooter.
Like, what are we talking about? There are times where I just don't know what Dennis Gates is looking at. I truly have no idea. Like, I'm not going to say what I was thinking of saying, but there is some frustration about, like, I don't know that he identifies weaknesses in his team on the fly and has the capacity to fix them in due time. I'm not convinced that he does.
I think part of Dennis Gates' problem, and it's just from getting to know him a little bit, covering the team, and this is a great trait to have as a human. I don't know how great he sees the best in everything.
He's an optimist.
He is an eternal optimist, which I love because I think I am too. But it comes a point as a coach, you need to be a little bit of a cynic of what could go wrong here. If, when he's constructing his team or his roster.
What has presently gone wrong? It's already happening.
Yes, we're saying in the offseason. I think in the offseason, he was going, Cruz is going to make 100 threes. Anthony Robinson is going to play like the NBA first-round pick people are grading him as. Mark Mitchell, well, his thought about Mark Mitchell is probably
he's been great.
Yeah, he's been great. But you know what I mean? I think he was thinking Javon Porter is going to shoot 10% better from three. Like all those things, he's thinking the best case scenario when constructing this team, and I'm just not sure it's there. Now, I do think that Jaden Stone is a stud. Like I think he's very good, and I think this team will look a little bit better offensively when Jaden Stone is healthy. But I don't know if it's, to your point, one, bad roster construction, but I also don't know if it's going to make all that much of a difference.
Like I do think one scorer like him allows everybody else to slot into their roles more efficiently, more appropriately. But again, that's a lot to hinge on one guy who was your sixth man as he was playing before. So does it make, to your point, does it make that big of a difference?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I agree with you 100% on Gates being just like that eternal optimist where even as it's happening, he's compelled to believe that it's about to turn, and as the trends are so clear and consistent as they've been for 4 years, even in the good years, there are frustrations with rebounding, and there are the hallmarks of Dennis Gates coached teams that even when they're making tournaments and doing well, what the limitation is going to be. How the season's going to end. It's going to end against a bunch of white dudes for Princeton or Drake or whatever the next team that to which that is applicable. Like, that it's going to be those fundamentally sound teams. And Mizzou under Dennis Gates I don't believe he preaches fundamentals. If he does, okay, I'll stand corrected, but I wish I would see them more consistently in the way his team plays. Well, like at a certain point, if you're coaching these principles, like as I'm not at all these practices to know what they're actually doing, I am led to believe by the product that I see over the course of time, over a sample size. That's all I've got to go on.
Yeah, you only have the game.
So when I see the game, and not only the game over the course of the last week, but the games of his teams over 4 years, a picture is painted for me by the way his teams consistently perform in particular areas. And I am led to believe that certain elements of fundamentals are kind of, second rate. It's not a priority as much as it is just be yourself, go out there and be athletic and go be great. And, get your hands in passing lanes. Like there are things that are coached up that they're good at.
Yeah.
And then there are things that like when things go a little bit off wire, they don't make the adjustments offensively. Defensively, I think we'll drop into zone, we'll do this, and suddenly they're clamping down. But when things are not working offensively, it's like their goal is to just power through it by being so athletic or making a great shot that's contested that's going to start to open things up. Like it doesn't feel like the same level of X's and O's on that side of the ball, because I think what I'm led to believe is preach is like just go out and ball.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know that can always work against fundamentally sound teams that force you to slow down and move the ball. There's just not enough ball movement for this team to be able to get where they want to be as a scoring offense in the half court.
And I think part of the frustration too is like people smarter than me have broken this down, is that the post play is bad, and the post play is leading the guards to look worse than they're actually playing. Like the post play on defense isn't great, which is leading the guards out of position because they're maybe trying to help down a little bit on a post guy, and then the kick out is wide open. The post play offensively isn't great, putting guards in bad positions. And I agree with that. I think that Sean Phillips needs to be better. I think we saw a glimpse in that last 5-10 minutes of Phillips actually getting the ball offensively, and he looked pretty good. I would like to see a little bit more of him with the ball in his hands as an offensive threat, because I think he could start drawing a little more attention, which leads Mark Mitchell to a little more free space, maybe leads the other players to kickouts. And I didn't even realize this guy played the last few minutes of the game, and Chris Pelican told me he looked like a fish out of water. But I want to see more Trent Burns. Like the offense is struggling, it's stagnant. Go out there and try to throw a couple lobs to him. See if you can't get a mismatch with Trent Burns. I mean, he's 7'5". Like, I'll take if his defense isn't as good on the other end, if it allows a little bit of offense. Just run him out there for 3-4 minutes and see if something over Bub Randall. Like, why are we seeing Nicholas Randall playing key moments in a game? I
don't understand it. Yeah.
Throw in Trent Burns and just see what can happen. Like, I was watching the BYU game. Kevin Keita, lob, built almost like Trent Burns. Let's just see something.
Yeah, and if it's not, and like, shoot, he's 7'5", he should be able to stand there on defense and like get in the way.
Yeah,
if nothing else, like
in that 2-3 zone.
I don't know what the risk is either. When they look as bad as they do as a team, I don't know what the risk would be in changing up the personnel and trying something different. And Gates talked about needing to space the floor better, and so I don't think you can do as much Sean Phillips and Mark Mitchell and like going so big. And so maybe like that's part of it with Burns as well. But I don't know. I just do know that what they've been doing has not been working, and I'm not like angry about it. I'm disappointed because I wanted to see some year-over-year consistency.
Yes.
I'm not like some who will say like, oh my gosh, fire the coach. Like, man, Mizzou basketball has a guy that's able to compile some really interesting talent and to recruit at a high level. Maybe not every single year, but pretty like getting some rated prospects. Eventually, I want to see those guys actually play and turn into something. Like, we have not seen any of the recruits of the 4 stars or the 5 stars, that we haven't seen any of them really pan out yet.
No.
So is his ability to develop those types of guys under some question? Yeah, let's see. Like a guy like Boateng should emerge, but he feels like a bit player. If you're crafting these recruiting classes 5 deep with 4 stars and none of them end up being relevant, T.O. Barrett's probably the most relevant, and he's a mess half the time. Like, what is the point? You're just filling out your whole team through the portal ultimately, and it's been hit and miss with Gates' ability to land the players through the portal that can play the style that he wants to see played and do it effectively. So, yeah, like, you have some questions even about the recruiting, because if the recruiting doesn't turn into developed players that can run the offense and run the team, then what are we doing here?
Well,
but I mean, you've made 2 tournaments, and there's been good things that have certainly happened, and so you've got good things on the horizon. So no, I'm not, even with a bad season, I'm not like, yeah, fire the coach. Like, I don't feel this way as much with Mizzou football. I don't know why this is, but with Mizzou basketball, I'm almost like, how much better are you going to expect to realistically do than like tournament every other year, being in the mix for that in the SEC. Like, I don't know. I'm sure they could get a good coach. I'm not sure who, like, I'm happy with Gates. I just wish that they would fine-tune some of the things that are clear deficiencies. That's all.
I would say that I think Mizzou basketball is historic enough and has been at places enough to where they should expect a little more than every other year. Like, I think it should be you miss the tournament once every 4 years.
I agree
type of
with
thing.
you.
Like and I'm not saying they need to be competing for national champions or the 2 seed, but if they're in a tournament 3 out of 4 years, like that is a pretty good mark for a coach. And to your point, like let's look at last year's daunted freshman class. Peyton Marshall at Georgia Tech, no longer on the team. Trent Burns, we've barely seen play. T.O. Barrett, Honor Boateng. Isn't there one more? Am I missing a name?
I think the other one transferred as well. I forget.
Oh God, what was his name? I can't remember right now. But yes, you're right. There was another transfer, and then you look at I know Aiden Shaw wasn't his recruit, so I can't really blame him on that. But a 4-star guy never was anything. Anthony Robinson, I don't know because all the talent is there. Anthony Robinson doesn't really feel like a development problem. It feels like right now it's an Anthony Robinson issue. Am I off there?
No, he's a mess.
Yeah.
And he's very talented, but he cannot seem to get out of his own way. And when you're a junior making freshman mistakes, it's like you're just an erratic player. I don't know that it's going to be I don't know that I can expect him to suddenly become and blossom into this consistent player and get the best out of his talent every game. He's erratic at times, and it costs him. So Marcus Allen, by the way, was the other guy from that class who's playing. He's playing a little bit. I mean, he's playing decent minutes with Miami this year.
Okay, that's where I thought he went. Yeah. And again, to the people who want Dennis Gates fired, it's like he is the number 1 recruiting class in the country coming in next year. When has Missouri ever done that? Missouri has never done that.
Though, Missouri had a top 5 recruiting class with all those freshmen that none of them have panned out.
Mm-hmm.
So there will come a day where the grift has to end. If you're going to continue to, pump out these classes, however you're doing them, but in basketball, especially if you're not getting those freshmen to play right away, they're an afterthought to me. No, they're not going to suddenly develop. I won't be tricked into it again. No, we shouldn't have to be patient. If Boateng was a top 50 player, why is he not any good? Why doesn't he produce anything right now?
Yeah, that's frustrating.
He's a second-year player at this point. It's basketball. It's not football. There's not a 2-year window where you can get stronger and more physical and all those things. It's basketball. If you're that highly touted of a prospect, you should be contributing as a freshman, or I will wait 1 year. And if you're contributing as a sophomore, if it's Boateng, it's I don't know if he's gonna. He's a bit player. Burns, bit player. The other 2 transferred. T.O. Barrett kind of has Anthony Robinson syndrome, where he's talented but erratic as a point guard.
Yeah.
He can make the flashy play, but can he find that consistent level? That's not a lot to write home about from a number 2. That was a top 5 recruiting class in the country, the way it was rated. More because of the volume of how many players they had in it. They didn't have any 5-stars, but you have 5 4-stars. That's pretty good. None of them have turned into anything for this program. And so, yes, you look at the next year of the top recruiting class and say, we're going to need that to matter. Yeah. But those guys have to play. They got to play right away and contribute.
I hope none of them are on Missouri after next year, because that means they're really, really good.
Way.
Okay, fine. I hope Jason Crow Jr. isn't on.
Aiden Chronister's not jumping to the NBA.
You're right.
Probably Tony Bryant isn't. Jason Crow has to. I mean, that's what you would expect. So
that's what I'm saying. I hope Jason Crow Jr. is a lottery pick, top 5 pick, because that probably means Mizzou had a pretty darn good year. Yeah. Made the tournament, maybe won some games. That's how good this team can be next year if these guys are as good as they hope. And then maybe Dennis Gates can continue some momentum. That's why I think this year was big, because you have this recruiting class. Krosner and Tony Bryant, are probably guys that will stay a year or 2. You keep them, then their sophomore year, all of a sudden, maybe you have 4 years of momentum built up. And that's why I think this year was big, to try to continue that. Obviously, Gates, even with bad years, is still able to recruit well. It's just this year just felt like a big test for Dennis Gates, because he might, the next 2 years, they might be great, and it might overshadow some deficiencies just because the talent's that good.
Which is fine. Like, I think ultimately that's the best version of a Dennis Gates coach Missouri team, is like he gets such good talent that there's no way, to lose.
It doesn't matter who's coaching them.
Yeah. And so I think he's a great recruiter. His players believe in him. His players want to play for him. We got to find the consistency of the fundamentals and the things that have been lacking. And, time will tell. We'll see what ends up happening the rest of this year. I'm not bought into believing that this year is a tournament team with what we have seen so far. And it doesn't help either that, and maybe that's the reason he scheduled so weak, is that he knew it wasn't going to look good if he didn't. And then there would be even less momentum. But I don't know. I just know that right now I'm not feeling it until I see them win a game, because they haven't won a game yet this year. Not even Minnesota is like, okay, fine. That's still a power team, but not a good one. They did beat Indiana. Yeah. But I just haven't seen anything yet from this team that tells me like, when we get to the SEC, they're going to be in range for 9-9 or 10-8. If you had to ask me today, I would say 6-12 if I had to guess today.
And these next 2 weeks are a big challenge for him. This will be maybe his most impressive coaching work if he can figure something out against Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman, and then get his team ready for a Monday in St. Louis against Illinois. And if they beat Illinois, I will applaud Dennis Gates, because you and me have been sitting here on, December 10th, talking about how this team has no chance. And if they go and beat Illinois, I think we'll feel a little bit differently.
That would immediately cause us to reassess the situation. So he's got a big coaching job ahead of him, and I think he can do it. I honestly think this team can beat Illinois. It's just they have to play very well, and they got to put it all together. Yeah. All right, let's go to a quick break. Come back. Missouri found out its bowl destination. They're going to play Virginia in Jacksonville. We'll react to that, who we think will opt out, who we think will play. And there's an interesting wrinkle in Eli Drinkwitz's contract. All that and more on the Lou Information Station. We'll be right back.
This hour of content on the Lou Information Station is brought to you by Grandpa Pigeons, Johnny Mac's Sporting Goods, and Becky's Carpet and Tile Superstore.
Hey, see that, kids? That's the St. Louis Arch, the gateway to the west.
The Lou Information Station, where we'll always call it Highway 40 or Highway 40 if you're a boomer.
The St. Louis expression?
Stream our content 24/7 at louinfo.com. The Lou Information Station.
When it's time to bring the energy, don't fake it. Fuel it. Drink Thunder is the all-natural, plant-based, fruit-based pre-workout drink that gives you real results without the junk. No sugar, no crash, just clean energy, powered by nature, and loaded with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to help you perform at your best. Go to drinkthunder.com and grab your favorite flavor: orange, mango, blackberry, lemonade, or strawberry cream. Drink Thunder, the clean way to power your workout. drinkthunder.com.
LZ Electric is on the air asking listeners to donate to Toys for Tots this holiday season. It can make all the difference in the life of a less fortunate child. This special holiday message is brought to you courtesy of LZ Electric. The very best in residential and commercial electrical repairs, installs, upgrades, and more. Give the pros a call today at 314-803-5179. 314-803-5179. That's LZ Electric. Wishing you a safe and happy holiday season. They're professionals who care.
LouInfo.com news headlines. Brought to you by Brown and Crouppen, 222-2222.
With your LouInfo.com news, I'm Jared Sorello. The St. Louis County Council now delaying a vote on next year's budget with just one meeting left in the year to get it passed. Council members remain at odds with County Executive Sam Page on how to address an $80 million budget deficit. The council is considering cuts to several key departments, while Page wants to use the Rams settlement money to fill short-term gaps. If a budget is not approved by the end of this year, the county will apply the January 2025 budget to next year. 3 schools that were damaged in the May tornado will reopen in January. St. Louis Public Schools approving the reopening of Beaumont, Washington Montessori, and Yeatman Middle School on January 5th. All 3 campuses needed months of repairs after heavy damage caused by the twister. The St. Louis Metro Police Department is announcing a contract renewal for Chief Robert Tracy. The Board of Commissioners approved a 3-year deal extending Tracy's tenure as chief through 2028. We're streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com. I'm Jared Sorello.
Now, LouInfo.com weather. Presented by STL Sports Central. St. Louis sports. Anytime, anywhere.
Here's your LouInfo.com weather update. Our temperature dropping into the mid-30s today following that cold front. We have chilly high pressure moving in, mix of sun and clouds, and the big deal will be the gusty wind up to 45 miles an hour. Mid-20s and some clouds overnight, upper 30s, and not as windy on Thursday with some clouds. A little more sunshine Friday. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton for the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at LouInfo.com and the free Lou Info app.
This is Mizzou wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr.
And I'm Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter.
When we hit the field, we have each other's back.
And off the field, we got James Carlton and State Farm covering us.
Thanks, fellas. Nothing beats college football season, and nothing beats saving money. Just by getting a quote from our office and mentioning Mizzou, we'll make a donation to support Mizzou's will to win push on your behalf. No strings attached.
So you're supporting the team just by checking your rates. Doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so easy. Check them out online at cartoninsurance.net. MIZ-ZOU.
St. Louis sports fans, now you can go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie Miklasz, Randy Carricker, Mike Claiborne, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Also, monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and you'll be supporting local sports media. Join now at stlsportscentral.com.
Listen up, fellow timeshare owners. If you're a timeshare owner and you want out at all costs, you're done, frustrated, tired of wasting money, you don't use the darn things. Get out now. Hire the best Bulldog timeshare cancellation team in the business. Their in-house legal team, headed by a timeshare cancellation lawyer, can help you fight the biggest and baddest companies out and sell timeshare. At some point, you were using your timeshare, but now you're not, and you're tired of wasting money. Before you go to the poorhouse, call right now and learn how you can stop the maintenance fees and put more money back in your pocket. Their services cost you a lot less than you think, and you'll save a lot of money over time. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline now. It's a free consultation.
800-824-5131. 800-824-5131. 800-824-5131. That's 800-824-5131.
And welcome back to MIZ-Central, the Lou Information Station. We're live and on demand at LouInfo.com. Check us out at LouInfo on YouTube. Grant Salzman, Brennan Schaefer in here with you, talking all things Missouri sports. Mr. Schaefer, the Tigers playing the Virginia Cavaliers, the runner-up in the ACC on Saturday, December 27th. It's a night game in Jacksonville for the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. What was your reaction? I know you weren't thrilled about playing an ACC team.
Yeah, I just think the ACC is the least compelling of the four power conferences. And so first choice would have been to play a Big Ten team. One with a brand would have been fun.
Yeah.
Big 12 would have been fine. There's some interesting ones there. ACC was my least exciting option. And that was kind of what was reported first, was that Mizzou was going to be in this Gator Bowl, and that's tied to ACC. So I was like, well, that's a bummer. But then, like, of the options, Virginia's probably the most interesting, just because they are ranked and did have a good season and lost to Duke in the ACC championship game. But like that's decent, I think, relative to what some of the other options could have been. So I'm down for it. It's fine. I'll be excited for it. I just hope Mizzou's guys play. We get to watch the bulk of our team, and I'll be excited for the game.
Yeah, Eli Drinkwitz said that he expects them to be as close to full strength as they can be. But yeah, as regards to the bowl game, Saturday night game, it's about as best as you could expect. Only game on during the time, I believe it'll be ESPN. Like, can't really complain too much. Now, who do you think could opt out? Drink says he expects to be as close to full strength as they can be. You won't really see too many transfer portal guys opt out because the portal's not even open, so they'll probably hop in after this game, you would assume. And if they are transferring, they probably don't have a huge impact on the team as is. My biggest worry is maybe like a Zion Young or a Caden Green could opt out.
Yeah, I
Green
think
goes,
that would be reasonable. But I would say like Zion, I think will be drafted.
Yeah.
But is he someone that could afford to put a little bit more on tape and impress scouts? Maybe, because I don't think he's like a first round pick. So I think that would be one. Like Damon Wilson, I think will probably be going pro and probably borderline first round, second round pick. And so I think he would be somebody that maybe would opt out. Yeah, Caden Green. I wonder what round Caden Green would go in if he goes, which I think he will go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some borderline guys that I won't be surprised either way. Wouldn't be surprised if they opted out. Wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to play one more game with where their status is. I think if you're like a bona fide first round pick or second round, you probably opt out just to play it safe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, maybe there's the opportunity to continue impressing and starting that momentum for your draft stock now before the combine, before all those other things. And so, like, I think there's legitimacy to both. And those are the names I think we're talking. Like Josiah Trotter, he would be eligible. So what would he? You know what I mean? Like, we'll see on some of those guys.
I think a guy like Trotter probably hasn't made his decision yet. So why opt out if you're not even 100% sure you're going to be going to the NFL? I'm not sure where Trotter would be picked, but I would think for sure if he stays one more year and has a year like this, he'd be a first round pick the year after this.
I don't know about that at his position.
That's true.
Like middle linebacker, I don't necessarily know what would happen there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's what's interesting is this year, like last year, you had Armand Menbu, Luther Burden, guys you knew were going first round, or in Luther's early second round. Burden probably should have been a first round pick. But this year, it's a bunch of guys that I think a lot of NFL guys, but a lot of second, third round guys, most likely. Not that they shouldn't be first rounders, just maybe a little undervalued, like your Wilsons, like your Youngs. So I think that's where it gets interesting with the opt-outs. But there's also a lot of seniors who I think are going to be really excited to play one more time for the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, and I think a good amount of day two picks potentially from this team.
Yeah.
And those are not always the guys that are surefire to opt out and preserve their stock. So we'll see. I believe Drink when he says like he expects to have most of his team, and obviously there'll be maybe some guys who transfer. Drink may already feel he's aware of the ones that are going to largely. A couple announcements have been made, and so hopefully it ends up being a pretty full team, and then we'll see how they match up with Virginia, and you know how many players Virginia has opt out or play. Virginia is a pretty good run-based offense. They move it on the ground, which I think sets up well for Mizzou because Mizzou has been pretty good at stopping the run. And I like Mizzou's chances in the game. Just first off, I think they were 7.5 point favorite when it came out. I don't know what it is currently.
6.5, I believe, currently.
Yeah, so I mean that's probably fair because Mizzou hasn't really blown anybody out. So, but I like the way that Mizzou stylistically should match up in this game, I would think.
And I think Ahmad Hardy can have a day. Like that's what I think I'm most excited just to see Ahmad Hardy run again.
Yeah, Hardy and Roberts, I think, will both get their fill. Should look up kind of how Virginia stops the run because that's sort of been the story.
Matter.
Well, yeah, it does,
ACC.
Because I get it. But when Mizzou has played teams that stop the run better,
they struggle.
Have not, and Virginia's pretty good run defense, so it'll be an interesting matchup. They're 23rd in rushing yards allowed per game, 115.6. So that's kind of in that range of those teams that gave Mizzou some trouble.
Yeah,
Auburn finished top 10, but Missouri is 11th for whatever it's worth in run defense, so they're pretty good too.
Now Vic Faust, who does the show with me on Mondays, is adamant that he wants to see Matt Zollers start this bowl game. Might as well get him the reps. Where are you on that? Because I think Bo Prabula is the starter of this football team. Bo Prabula will probably get the ball in this bowl game.
Yeah, I would be fine with Prabula. I don't know that either him or Zollers are going to be here next year. I think Zollers probably will be. Bo's situation is interesting, but if Bo is still on the team, like he could transfer.
Yeah.
If he's still on the team, I would start Bo Prabula. I would want to see them take some more chances with him, though. Like, let's not run this offense like we have to win the game, as crazy as that sounds. Like at Arkansas, you didn't want to put the ball in the air because it wasn't working and it was kind of rainy.
Yeah.
And the run game was just what was producing for you.
Yeah.
But I would like to see them run this offense like it's a practice for what, like a test for what we want to see Bo Pribula be able to do, and like be willing to get more creative in play calling and see how he responds to that. Because I think if you're Missouri's coaching staff, you're still evaluating for next year on like exactly what you want to be. Virginia 37th in pass defense, 202 yards per game. So still, I mean, they're very good defense, but a little more exposed to the pass than the run, relatively speaking. I would like to see them air it out a little bit. But no, I would say Pribula, I would continue to start him, I think, over Matt Zollers.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So an interesting little wrinkle we saw come out last few days. Eli Drinkwitz, part of his contract is there's a raise, I believe a $200,000 raise and a year extension for every season that he gets 8 wins. What was your reaction to that?
I don't really have one. I don't think it's like a particularly relevant, instructive thing.
Yeah.
8 wins is a good target. And so I think it would be perfectly fine for him to keep tacking on. But the reason they did the extension this time was because there was the threat of him being poached by another program. If there's another such coaching cycle where there's that sort of threat, this contract they won't be able to say, and like maybe Drink he'll say, I've got that rolling contract extension. You know, I don't want to talk about these coaching rumors every year. That being said, like he had a contract extension from earlier in the summer. That wasn't going to keep him here. So they had to do, they had to re-up it. The rolling thing is just an extra feather in Drink's cap that'll get him more guarantees in the event that down the road, then he's fired or, things change.
Yeah.
It cannot hurt, but it's very, very minor. We talk about it more than how relevant it is.
I agree.
8's a good number, by the way, to have that trigger, because I think 8-4 is going to be a continually really good season in the new look SEC with playing a 9-game schedule, because that would mean that you're having to go 5-4 in the SEC and have a winning conference record, which is not going to be easy to do year in and year out. So no problem with it. I'm happy it's in there. I don't think it actually serves much of a purpose in that it will keep Drink, like, oh, well, he's got that extension forever. No, shut up. Like people like to minimize this notion that he could have left, and it happened. Everybody was doing it early in the process that like, well, he signed a contract extension in May or whatever it was. It's like, so
doesn't matter.
Circumstances have changed, and like, join us here in reality that they're going to have to do something else to keep him. Well, I don't want him to be overpaid that much, because what has he ever done? Hey, if that's how you feel, great. But to play at this level of college football, this is the cost of doing business. And so I was in full support of them giving Drink the new contract. But like, if it happens again, that there's another cycle where he's maybe a threat to get poached, they'll have to rip this one up and draw up a completely new contract. So it's not that big of a topic.
And I see people too going, well, they're going to the extension's only 8 wins, so that must mean that's Missouri's goal. It's just win 8 wins under this new SEC and the new tough schedule. No, like, I think that Missouri's still going to be trying to break that glass ceiling and punch above their weight and get into the college football playoff finally. But I also think it's a writing on the wall, Brendan, for what the future of college football holds. Like, the 8-4 might be what 9-3 would have been this year. You're 1 game out of the playoffs. Like, with this new SEC schedule, we've said a lot of times, like, if you go 10-2 in the SEC, unless you're Vanderbilt, you probably got a pretty good chance to get in. Vandy didn't beat anybody, so they didn't. But I think Mizzou, if they went 10-2 with this schedule, probably would have gotten in with wins over 2 of Bama, Vandy, Oklahoma, like A&M.
They would have been above Vandy, Texas, right in that line with the conversation about Notre Dame, I think, and that would have been interesting to see. We really need a expansion to 16 teams, I think, ahead of this 9-game SEC schedule. And like, maybe they blow it up completely and go more like the play-in route, where it's, the top 8 in the SEC are going to have access. Maybe the top 2 are guaranteed. 3 through 8 have to play each other. in a 3 versus 8, 4 versus 7, 5 versus 6 style.
And
then,
winners get in.
Yeah, from that 4 emerge from the SEC, 4 emerge from the Big Ten, and maybe it's you get to a 12-team field by, I don't know, maybe it's a 14 or 16, whatever it is. Maybe that's what they go to. I would miss the meaningful, like, top teams going at it on championship weekend.
Yeah, I love that.
But those games, the way the structure currently exists, don't have the same punch, and there's not value to playing them.
But did you not have
those teams at the top?
But did you not have fun watching that Indiana-Ohio State game? Like, it was still fun. It was fun.
I'm not, but you have to separate it, Grant. From what the fans want versus what makes sense for the sport, and what the insiders want, the players, the coaches, the administration, the sponsors. Like, that has to be. I mean, I wish it was fan driven, but it's not. No decision ever really has been in college football. So, like, is there a way to incentivize those games? But to me, a conference championship would be one of the greatest accomplishments Missouri could achieve. Like, we play in the game and we win an SEC championship.
That's how Indiana fans feel.
So meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know that most of the teams that are consistently playing in that game is Georgia, Alabama every year, right? Like, they don't care at this point. Indiana cared, but Ohio State didn't. So, like, that's, and like 2 years from now, Indiana won't care because they'll be like, we've done this a few years in a row. So
A&M would have cared if they got in.
A&M would have cared. So, like, that's I wish there was a way to have those games still happen. And maybe there's a blend that they can do the best of both worlds where, like, we're still going to have you play on that weekend. There'll be conference championships, but there'll also be these play-in games going on. We're going to play them all. We're going to play them all because you get a bye or something if you win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that you could do a 14-team playoff like the NFL does, where each conference gets a bye and the byes go to the SEC and the Big Ten. That's their incentive for playing the championship game, is you get a bye.
Or I'm fine with the bye being, even if you don't give it to the SEC and Big Ten on paper, the bye going to the top 2 conference champions. Because how often is the top 2 conference champion not one of? Because I don't like the idea of just giving it to the Big Ten or SEC, because once every 5 years, the Big 12 team, look at Texas Tech. I mean, they are. If they had beaten, who was it, Utah or whoever they lost to? They beat Utah, Arizona State,
and they were 12-0,
and that was with the 3rd-string quarterback too. Yeah. They lost that game, by the way.
Yep. But so if they had run the table, there would have been validity to them being, in that conversation with Ohio State. Probably, I don't think they would have been above them, but you could have at least let the powers that be, whatever it is, a committee, computer rankings, decide that. I agree. And then
they would have been above Georgia. They probably would have been top 2.
Yeah. And then from there, you decide, how do you bear out the other ones? Is it 6 of the 14 come from SEC and Big Ten, and then Big 12 and ACC is just like your conference champion and maybe some at-larges? I don't know. Like, those other conferences would have to agree to that. Where does the group of 5 fit into all of this? Group of 6 after the Pac-12 returns to glory. So, like, that's my best idea, because I want to make it to where there's incentive for these conference championships to be played. And in the years where SEC, Big Ten are number 1, it's probable that ACC, Big 12 need that championship to be able to host the home game in the playoffs, or to be able to guarantee that they're in the playoff, right? And so I think that would be the way that I would like to see it go. Rest assured, they will bungle it, and it will not make as much sense as what we're sitting here discussing on the radio.
And I don't like the thought of, I hate the people going, well, James Madison, Tulane getting in is so stupid. That's the parameters we set. It's not their fault that the ACC had one of the worst Power 4 conference, probably the worst Power 4 conference champion ever in Duke. Like, that is why James Madison is in over Duke. And I don't think it makes all that big of a difference.
And the ACC bungled it. They shouldn't have allowed Duke to play in that game.
No.
That's their fault.
They messed up a tiebreaker before, and it's fine. They got Miami in. They're not that upset. But, like, the thing is, okay, let's say Virginia won that game, and Virginia's the 11th seed, going and playing at Ole Miss. What do you think the spread is? About 14?
Nah, probably 9.5 or.
Okay, let's say Tulane's a 16.5 point underdog. Like,
I just don't like that we've already seen that specific game.
I agree. And
that
then
sucks to me.
I'll
take Tulane, though. I mean, when we're putting our picks in, I'll take Tulane on the points.
Let's bump Tulane down to the 12 seed where James Madison is. What's Tulane on the road against Oregon? James Madison's a 21-point dog. Tulane's maybe 17, like
13.5 to 17.5.
Yeah, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. And I like having the group of 5 teams in because it made that game on Friday mean something. It made the North Texas Tulane games all year mean something.
I think 1 is the best number. The problem is, like, we got to stop pretending the ACC is a Power 4. It's not.
Yeah,
there's
1 should be the best number.
There's 2 leagues, and then there's 2 other leagues, and the Big 12 is slightly ahead of the ACC. But the ACC is a joke. Like,
especially right now.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. Like, could it come back around where the ACC recruits better and is better in other years? Maybe, but I don't think so. I really do not. It's a minor league compared to the 2 big ones. It's just my belief.
I would be shocked if Florida State and Clemson don't turn it around, because when Florida State, Clemson, and Miami are all
then
good,
it's
a good league. And maybe if you add the years that Louisville's good here and there, like, it's a good league then. But the problem is it
shouldn't have been allowed to get to 18 teams.
No, it's too many teams.
They're so bottom heavy. Like, there's so many bad teams that the 6 that are decent get propped up to where Duke can end up with a 6-win conference season, despite the fact that they're not really that good.
No.
And that's how you get into this mess. The Big Ten is at 18 as well, but their middle teams are better than the middle of the ACC.
Yes.
The middle of the SEC is better than both of them, but that's a different conversation. I hope they do address it soon, though. Grant, they extended it to beyond the December 1st deadline to fix the playoff for next year. I hope they come up with something soon on that. And, we get Mizzou's schedule tomorrow night and the full reveal of the dates and everything for football next year. So I hope that they get together and they figure out a way to, like, tell us what the playoff will be next year. And because maybe it's a permanent solution. We'll see.
But my whole point with this, what got us on this tangent, was 9-3 might be good enough. So 8 wins isn't going to be that bad. You might be 1 win away from the playoffs in certain years if you beat the right teams.
Expand it for 9-3, because then teams like Texas this year, you could say, all right, that's. But then, like, those will look even more impressive next year. For someone to go 9-3 with Texas's schedule next year will be even tougher to do.
I agree with you. All right, he's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Grant Salzman. We'll be back Friday giving you your picks of the week. The gambling's legal. Sign up DraftKings STL Sports. Use that promo code. It's legal here in Missouri. Now, give you our picks, preview, react to Mizzou's game Thursday, and then preview the weekend for the Missouri Tigers. He's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Grant Salzman. Up next is Charlie Tuna and the Posse.
Tune in each week as STL Sports Central, the Lou information station, and the Too Many Men on the Mic